With Pokemon Bank coming out at some point, I was thinking now would be a good time to talk about the unobtainable Pokemon that we will soon have in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So what I want you guys to do is leave a comment down below which Pokemon are you most excited to see now being available in Pokemon Sun and Moon when we get Pokemon Bank. Is it one of your favorite Pokemon? Is it one of the strongest Pokemon? Like, what are you really worried about? And also, what are you really excited to see? Because for starters, like, oh, Kanto starters. Right, those things are now going to be usable. And there's also going to be a lot of really weird thoughts and implications as to what's going to happen. Are we going to get access to all of the other Mega Stones? Like, will there be a big game update? Because the weird thing is, we just had the 1.1 update that kind of fixed a couple of glitches and issues and stuff, but it didn't really change anything about the infrastructure of what's going on in Pokemon Sun and Moon. So we can see that, yeah, these are like all the Mega Stones. So what about the Pokemon that are now being transferred over? Like, oh, we don't have Mega Pidgeot, we don't have Mega Beedrill, we don't have any of these items right here, yet at the same time we're given these Kanto starter Mega Stones, even though these Pokemon aren't even available right now. So the Pokemon Sun and Moon game has been giving us some mixed signals, and that's why I just kind of want to go through the list and maybe point out something interesting that I might see happening, because one big thing is that yes, we're going to have non-Alolan forms accessible, and technically we can use the Red, Blue, Yellow Virtual Console to just kind of bring those Pokemon over as well if we haven't obtained them in Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, or Pokemon X and Y. I think one of the craziest things to think about is how long of a list this is. And I'm going to scroll around, and hopefully it doesn't look like a bad video. But there's 800 Pokemon now, or over 800. 801 with Magearna, 802 with Marshadow. And we only have 301 Pokemon in the Alola Dex. So that means over 500 Pokemon, or about 500 Pokemon, are not available in Pokemon Sun and Moon until Pokemon Bank. And that's going to change everything. Like, I'm wondering how it feels. Like, if people have forgotten about these Pokemon, because that's almost what it feels like. And then there's also gonna be new legendaries, and then the pseudo legendaries allowed, and all kinds of crazy things, and the off legendaries like Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres. I call them off legendaries because they're still legendaries, but they're not forbidden. They're just legendaries that you can use whenever. So, oh yay, we get the forces of nature coming back, and everyone's gonna be running Suicune again. So it's gonna be kind of crazy like that. And yeah, I'm surprised at some of these Pokemon. Like, right, I haven't seen Ampharos. Or also, I guess there's less than 500 new Pokemon, because with the island scan, that does make for a couple of Pokemon to be available. And if you haven't really studied the island scan, like, I thought you could get Flaffy through the island scan, but I guess not. So now we're going to see Ampharos and Ambipom and all kinds of, like, really cool Pokemon again. But I would say that since it's been 3 years, or since it was 2 years since Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and 3 years since the new generation, it was like people started to take for granted all of these other Pokemon that we don't see too often, that now we just don't have access to in Pokemon Sun and Moon, because it's been 2 months, and I would even say a couple months before that, you know, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had been dead for a very long time. So we're going to see these strategies come back, and maybe we're going to see new strategies, new synergies. I feel Doubles is going to open up, because every time there's a new generation, I think that Doubles kind of gains the most out of it, because, oh, there's a new Pokemon that has this strange synergy with some obscure Pokemon we haven't seen since like 3rd or 4th generation, when it didn't have anything comparable or any other threats. Because generally, like, a new Pokemon just gets introduced and it's better, and then the other Pokemon gets shoved out or something. Also, I'm really excited about Pokemon like Mantine. Mantine gets buffs. It gets access to the Roost. I think it also got like 20 points on its hit points. So we're going to see a new special tank coming in for sure with the Mantine. And then we're also going to see some other options. Like, one thing that felt kind of lacking in Pokemon Sun and Moon was the amount of Stealth Rocks. That the Alola Dex doesn't have a lot of Stealth Rock Pokemon. Now, I know that a lot of people are probably happy about that, but it kind of shows some of the give and take that's been going on with these 7th generation exclusive Pokemon. And I'm excited to see what else happens. Also, there's going to be, like, different usable Pokemon. Like, Kangaskhan is bad right now, but then Power Up Punch will be usable through transfer. So all these transfer moves that are going to be allowed on the battle spot will also make now bad Pokemon even better, because they get access to their old movesets. I think a Pokemon that's going to be really scary to look out for is going to be the Porygon Z, because you use Z conversion now, and then you can Last Resort into insane amounts of damage, and do all kinds of strange stuff like that. Legendary formats, mythical formats, those are going to get interesting, which is why I want your guys' feedback. I want to do like a top 10 transfer Pokemon to look out for, and it's pretty much just going to be like Ferrothorn, some of the standard Pokemon, Mega Charizard, because we actually have access to that, and some of the other Megas, like Gardevoir. We don't get Gardevoir, which is also why I have this up right here. It's like, yeah, Gardevoir, if the Pokemon isn't available, you just can't buy it right now. So, are these going, like, I'm wondering how Pokemon's going to do it. Because if you just throw these into the battle tree, it's like, cool, now I need to spend 64 battle points again on all of these other new Pokemon that are coming into the game. If they're doing it by events, how are they going to have an event? Like, they'd have to have an event Pokemon every 4 days. So it's like, oh, by the way, event Altaria with Altaria Night, event all these kinds of Pokemon right here. And there, it doesn't, I don't think there's something locked in. Maybe there's QR codes. Maybe there's some kind of like crazy QR code event that they can do. But even then, it feels like they're going to have to slam events down our throat. Or we're just not going to have access to all these Mega Pokemon that we had in Sun and Moon and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So that's something interesting to consider. Ooh, Breloom. Breloom and Amoonguss. Again, Amoonguss is another one I wouldn't say looking forward to, because no one's looking forward to seeing Amoonguss and Ferrothorn in every battle again. But having Spore access is going to be crazy. No, a lot of things are going to change up. Medicham, but not Mega Medicham potentially. This is why it's going to get pretty interesting in some different ways. Like reverting some of the things that people didn't like about the 6th generation, then mixing it in with 7th generation Pokemon. And some of the new Pokemon, yeah, I'm seeing that there could be a lot of new synergy, a lot of team builds and stuff. And it's really odd because there was like a lot of speed and a lot of power coming out of the previous generations, and now we have the complete opposite of that we just have bulky Pokemon that do good amounts of damage. So I think there's a lot more specialized tanks that can round out a team. Maybe 7th generation feels kind of bad competitively right now, because when all the other Pokemon comes in, it'll feel a lot more balanced. Like, oh, Tapu Koko's just the fastest, hardest hitting Pokemon right now, but after transfer, there's gonna be a lot of other awesome sweepers that start hitting that 130, 135 range that could also counter Tapu Koko or do some other things. So maybe we're gonna get some more excitement, but also at the same time, other Pokemon have just straight up died. Like Dusclops, it got nerfed because you can't really do the confusion anymore. Anything that does like Paraflinch, like Klefki is available right now, but it feels like Klefki doesn't even exist as a Pokemon because the Paraflinch and Prankster, everything just got nerfed so hard right there. And then we have a bit of a side note. What about Z-moves? That Z-moves are now going to be accessible to over double the current amount of Pokemon. So maybe there's that sweeper Pokemon that's really been missing out in a couple of matchups that can use some kind of like crazy Z-move and then end up swinging battles. And then status Z-moves. Status Z-moves are just like some of the craziest things ever. That a Pokemon that misses just a little bit in setup or needs just a little bit extra, it can do something now. Oh, you go Z Confuse Ray on a fastish Pokemon that just gains enough stats to now wreck something else. Mirror Move, attack is up by 2, bulk up is just extra damage. That if there's a Pokemon, like what if it didn't need +1/+1 for like attack and defense on a bulk up, but it really needs a +2/+1 on the attack, and then it just wrecks things. So I think there's a lot of really cool things like Will-O-Wisp. Also the defensive ones are really nice. So any Pokemon that can get a lasting stat boost that it didn't really have access to before. Oh, we have, what about Roar? Like this sounds weird, but it could be a thing. We have Roar Suicune. Suicune's already going for Calm Minds. If it uses Roar, it gains the defense, and it wants to kind of roar things out anyways. And if it's running Rest, well, it already has big sustain right there. So now, Suicune just harder to KO, 50% more defense, and it's not really, and it's giving up like a Chesto Berry, which it would eventually run out of anyways. I know it sounds dumb and that there are some stupid things behind it, but it's just what we're looking into, that there could be some kind of crazy thing like Pain Split boost defense, a Z Pain Split on a Rotom, dear God. You know, there's some weird combos that might happen. I'm just coming up with things off the top of my head. So if we were looking into this a bit more, speed boosting, you know, a random skill swap Pokemon gaining speed and then turning that around, Supersonic, Lock-On, gaining speed. I'm like, if only there's a way for like Smeargle to guarantee a survival and not get blown up. Hypnosis gains speed, things to look out for right here. It's going to get interesting. Rain Dance, Safeguard, some evasion boosting. I don't see much on the evasion because it doesn't really benefit you too well. It's not like you can boost evasion and then gain more evasion or something. But yeah, Acupressure gains critical hit ratio. So just stuff is going to happen. And I'm thinking that we do need to keep an eye out for like these weird Z-move combos, because Magic Coat. Like, Magic Coat is something that isn't getting a lot of representation, but it boosts your special defense by 2. Magic Coat, that's a tutor move. So we have Tutor Magic Coat with another Pokemon coming in, and now it has double special defense that it didn't have access to before, while also reflecting an opponent's hazardous or status move. So it can just make a bigger power play that it can get from a Z item than it would have had from any other item. Splash +3 attack, that's always just classic right there. So this is going to get pretty ridiculous, I feel, when it comes like what we can use for Z moves. Infernape's going to be interesting, because I feel like Infernape just straight up outclasses Passimian, like, as a faster Pokemon. Sure, Passimian has the receiver ability, but Infernape does different things, and it just does damage, and it's fast, and it has better coverage. So I think that there's going to be some strangeness come in. Lopunny's a really cool Pokemon. Ambipom's a cool Pokemon. Perugly was doing some really funny stuff. Hippowdon. So more Sandstream support coming in. We also have like a Stealth Rock Sandstream that has Sustain. So Hippowdon. Also Tyranitar is going to be available. So just kind of like going through the list. Like, I know this feels like a weird disjointed video. I'm just kind of like, I'm just doing this for you guys as well. That maybe as I'm scrolling by, you're like, oh yeah, Gliscor. Gliscor's gonna come in hot. Like, Gliscor versus Tapu Koko. That's going to be really nice. Tapu Koko is surprisingly underwhelming. Like, it's a 95 special type Pokemon. The only reason why it's powerful is because of that electric terrain. So now if we have a reliable ground Pokemon, like, you can bring in the Gliscor. You can use Gliscor to eat up its Dazzling Gleam or whatever kind of attack it goes for. And then if the opponent makes a switch, Gliscor is still going to be there. Gliscor is still a scary, threatening Pokemon. We're gonna have access to more speed boosting stuff going on, because also hidden abilities. That we don't have hidden ability Superior, we don't have hidden ability Scolipede. So all of the Pokemon that we do have access to right now through the Island Transfer, or Island Scan, they're still not the same. Rotom gonna be coming back too. So we also know that there's like boxes for the Rotom in Kukui's lab. So that's gonna be, actually I need to do a video on like all the things to do with your now Pokebank Pokemon. So there's going to be some fun stuff going on right there. 5th generation has some scary Pokemon. Excadrill is going to feel good. Like, Sandrush and Sandforce, those got a little bit more support now that we have Gigalith. If we see the Custap Berry, Gigalith's going to pick up and then have some sandy Pokemon that can run with it. Cofagrigus, I really like Cofagrigus just as a tanky, ghostish Pokemon. There's the Amoonguss. We're going to get Escavalier. We're going to get access to the Excelgor as well. So I'm feeling it, guys. I feel like we're going to have some really cool things. The Galvantula mixes things up. Now that we have Chargebug, though, Chargebug as a support, I feel outclasses the Galvantula a little, at least in doubles. In singles, we're going to see more Sticky Web again. Smeargle, like, I don't even think Acupressure exists right now. Like, one side note, as weird as it is, like, Acupressure doesn't even exist right now because it's unsketchable. So, like, these are moves, we don't have Assist, we don't have, like, Blaze Kick and some of these other ones. Like, this is kind of crazy to think about. No Fiery Dance. Yo! Fiery Dance. We didn't make it to Volcarona just yet, but yeah, Oricorio plus Volcarona. Like, we're gonna see a surge in some kind of just random strategies that pop out like that. Access to more fake outs, access to more supportive things. Like, it's gonna be really, it's going to be neat, I think is a good way of saying what's going to happen right here. Volcarona. And then, like, 6th gen, we have, like, no 6th gen Pokemon. It's like Trevenant, Pancham, and a few others. Like, it was like 5 evolutionary families, I think, that were in 7th generation compared to 6th gen. So we're going to have access to all these Pokemon that we didn't get to use. Florges. Yo, Florges is a mean special defense tank. So that's going to be some pretty cool stuff right there. Also seeing what kind of buffs and changes happen. Some moves got changed, abilities got changed, other Pokemon getting nerfed. Like, maybe we might see a surge of something else because of all these other Pokemon getting nerfed and whatnot. Fairy usage might feel a little safer. We might see less Gengar overall. The Noivern not being available, even though it's like fast Pokemon. Avalugg kind of outclasses the Alolan Sandslash by just being a ice physical tank that does very thick tank stuff. So I like the idea of Holutra. Yeah, there's just a lot of really good Pokemon. There's just a lot of really good Pokemon that we don't have access to right now. And that's why I wanted to kind of go through with this. Go-Go plus Tapu Bulu. That's a possibility now that once we get access to the Pokebank, Protean Greninja will be seen again. So I've been seeing some Greninja, but I just think that, yeah, no one's running the Battle Bond. Or, like, Battle Bond Greninja isn't as good as Protean, that you need that damage to stack up, or else you're not really getting much out of it. Delphox Mystical Fire got buffed, and I think there's also, like, I don't know what happened here with Pokemon Sun and Moon, because in 5th and 6th generation, I would say that the speed tiers kind of jumped up. That if you're not running like a 105, 110 base speed Pokemon, then you're kind of risking it for a speedy-ish kind of sweeper. But now we're seeing Pokemon like Delphox. It has a 104 speed. It's a respectable speed, and maybe depending on the amount of Pokemon that are going to be coming in, like if 7th generation Pokemon still remain viable and still remain a big part of the meta, then these kind of fastish Pokemon that were really getting bullied out by other sweepers might find some use now. Oh, and then we just have Thunderous Tornadoes. Forces of Nature, not happy to see them back in. Like, some of these Pokemon are just unfun, ruin the game level, like Ferrothorn, Forces of Nature, and stuff like that. Doubles is going to be interesting. I'm just going to keep saying, this is going to be interesting, and then you think doubles and combos and stuff. That's really what it is. Like, now, I think that I'm almost getting a jump on this too late, that we should have had this video idea a while ago, because I want to see your guys' thoughts. I want to see what you guys are really excited to use, excited to run. Fan Fridays is going to get much more exciting, because I feel we got about as much Fan Fridays as we can get. I've showed off a lot of kind of all the new Pokemon. It's like, oh, this guy combos here. Here's that cheeky strat that we were expecting. Here's a strat. Here's a strat. Oh, by the way, there's nothing more to do because there's only 300 Pokemon to show off. So now we're going to see, like, some craziness. We're going to see some old Pokemon. Like, I want to see teams with no 7th-gen Pokemon thriving in a 7th-gen meta, just kind of showing the balance right here, showing that everything is still viable in really healthy doses. I hope the game comes very healthy off of this one. And that's really all I have to say right now. So, hope you guys enjoy this video, just getting a thought as what's going on. Pokebank's going to make things pretty exciting. Like, I'm trying to breathe in some hype, because I feel like Sun and Moon, it lasted about as long as Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire because of, like, all the leaks and stuff. But I feel that with the Pokebank, it's going to get a much larger boost than any other game had. Like, Pokebank for X and Y, I think X and Y was still going good, and then Pokebank just kind of lifted up a bit. But this might be like a huge slam dunk of hype, a huge slam dunk of strategies, and people getting back into Pokemon. You know, you take January off, you calm down in January, you know, you relax. Now you get to use all your competitive Pokemon. Rated Battle Spot will allow Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire transfer Pokemon, which is really crazy to think about. So that means all these Pokemon that you've trained, they're not going to go to waste. They're going to be ready to use, and then you just play Pokemon. So I'm excited for all that. I'm excited to see how many people come back in the game. Red, Blue, Yellow Virtual Console. I mean, we have weeks and weeks of content, and then months and months of strategy and discovery left with this game. So I hope people really understand this, and I think that's a good way to end the video. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.